have, and so on. And similarly, the companies that I have been working so far. So this is more from a practitioner's point of view. So it may differ slightly from what you might have studied in the theory class of the e-governance, but primarily it's the portion is related to the practitioner's point. Okay, so let me get started. Okay. So this is briefly has 7 chapters here. So I would like to, this now is 7:11. I'll take about an hour to cover the sessions. Last 20 minutes we'll try to cover the question answers over here. So first we'll cover the background, then the levels. Levels I'll spend a little bit time over there. Then the pillars, how it applies to the education, higher education. Then how do you go about the implementation? What are the key risks as well as the references? Okay. So now, this screen, quite a few company images you are seeing over here. So the first one is called the UPS. It stands for United Parcel Service. That's probably one of that is the biggest transportation company shipping all the goods in US. You have seen FedEx, DHL, India Post, professional couriers, and so on, right? UPS is one such company, very big company, billions of dollars revenue. The CEO of the company once made a statement. You know what he said? We are actually an information technology company. We're an IT company. We happen to ship the goods to our customers. So now look at the prominence they are giving to the electronic governance over here, right? So information technology company that's applied to the respective areas where they are in. So similarly, if you look at the other logos here, right? Uber today is the biggest taxi operator, but it doesn't have any taxis of its own. It's basically utilizing the technology to bring all the cabs together to offer the cab riding experience to all the people. Airbnb offers the hotel accommodation. Make My Trip, many of you might have used to book the tickets, right? But it doesn't own any buses, rails, or trains, but it's one of the market leaders in the area of booking tickets. Google Pay, many of us have used. Google Pay is not a bank, but we use Google Pay to make many payments. So the summary is the information technology, the e-governance is at the core of all these operations. Now, if you look at the site, that's of the central government, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, this is their website over here. You see so many numbers here, the progress of each of the area related to finance sector, how the Aadhaar has been propagated, how much is the UPI transaction today, how much has been distributed in the PDS system, rural development activities, DigiLocker to store our documents. All of these are available at the fingertip, and many of these are updated real time. So basically, this is all possible because all these places, right, e-governance has been implemented at different levels, especially the data transmission. And so now if you go down, obviously the education over here, higher education, prominent, definitely the e-governance has a crucial role to play in the education sector. So let me go to the next slide on this part. Okay, so this is one slide that gives a summary of the levels of e-governance. You might have heard this CMM, right? CMM level 1, level 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is the process maturity in different companies. Okay, especially manufacturing, banking, software companies, they all use to define the maturity of an organization. So here in the e-governance, right? So this slide, based on different sources, I prepared this. So it tells about what is the first level in e-governance is you start with using Microsoft Word, Excel, or that kind of tools. Then gradually the maturity level increases. So this one I put it in one slide because if you want to take a screenshot, you can definitely take it. But this is the kind of maturity you start building as you go increasing the maturity of your own applications and the technology usage. Okay, so this is another slide that goes in more detail about this, but let me directly go into the explanation of what is each level. Okay, so level 1. So many of you have already passed this stage. About 5 or 10 years back, many colleges were in the level 1, where they will use primarily the Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, or the PowerPoint, basically to do the documentation. So they get the data, populate it, prepare the report, share it with the principal, share it with the administration, and so on. So this is all manually typed into Excel or any of these documents and then shared. Obviously, the advantage is that it's definitely way better than the manual work. Productivity is improved because earlier you were all doing manual. Now you suddenly start doing on the computer. Your productivity goes up, and you are able to reuse lot of material. And definitely not much expensive. Also, you just get a computer with all the office suit, and then you are up and running. But that's only the starting point. What are the limitations of this? So this is the basic only automation that is limited to one computer alone where it is being used, or maybe the LAN where it is implemented. And here you are doing the after the fact analysis. Suppose I am a coordinator and I prepare this attendance report of the students for the month. Let's say somebody is absent for 10 days. The concerned authority comes to know that the student has been absent after the month has already passed. So what are you going to do over here? This is only the after fact analysis over here. So the real time data analysis cannot be done in this over here. And lots of duplication of the data is what you are seeing over here. The same name replicated in every month statement. The names could be different. The slight spelling mistakes will be there. Whenever you want to combine all the month data, it's a cumbersome activity. So many of them. So, but at the same time, if you do not have an automation or the governance in place, this is the starting point wherein immediately you want to start because it doesn't take much time and effort. Okay, let me go to the next level over here. Again, these all levels are defined by me, and this definitely can be, there could be many more levels. So that's why in the previous slide, right, I kept 2 levels empty over here because I could come up with only 8, and the levels could definitely increase in the coming years. Okay, so now in the level 2, what are you seeing over here? A college wants to go with the e-governance, right? So one of the things that they want to do, let's say you build a college website. So you want to make sure that all your students and the staff get information what's happening in the college. You probably collect the application data online. Then you give students a self-help facility wherein they can fill the application form or see the status and all that. Then you probably implement a tally for the accounting purpose. You implement a system for your library automation, physical library. Then for digital library, you probably use the Google Docs for conducting the surveys, the student surveys, and e-print for the digital. Different applications you have over here. The advantage in coming to the level 2 is that it's a huge improvement from the first one. But at the same time, I'll go to the limitations either. But as far as the advantages goes, a lot of improvement over here. And reporting is definitely faster. And because you can quickly get the report from Tally or the library system or the Google Docs on what exactly you would like to get. And it's cheap also because Tally, you pay about 15,000 rupees and then you get the Tally application. You outsource the contract to develop your website for a certain amount, you get the beautiful website. Same thing with the library system, ePrint, and definitely the Google Docs is obviously free and so on. Reasonably expensive. Reasonably less expensive. It's cheap. Okay, but what is the issue over here? Systems are all scattered around here. If your organization has about 20 departments, there are 20 different applications over here. They don't talk to each other at all. So now the library system doesn't have a way to communicate to the campus automation system on what is the fee. Anytime a student gets admission in the college, the library system, they will have to feed it manually over here, right? Or otherwise, of course, the import and other things will come in picture, but definitely there is a lot of manual work over here. So the systems are all scattered around, and same data gets duplicated in multiple systems, and sometimes the data could even be contradictory, right? Because one system may have certain data, the other system may have totally different data. Tally may say that the student has paid everything, but the library system may have some dues over here, right? So that kind of contradiction also you will see here. And the next problem is the delay in the data transmission, because you really do not have a system how the data goes from one system to another, because you have about 20 or 30 systems in place. And the biggest pain point is that after some time, 2 or 3 years, when you have many applications, it becomes a nightmare to manage all these things. It just simply becomes overwhelming because you have so many systems over here. That is when the level 3 comes into picture. Level 3 of governance. In this level 3 of governance, here the primary difference between the number 2 and number 3 is that you will go with more mature software in each of these areas, right? Say, for example, in Tally, rather than going alone for the accounting portion, you may go with the inventory system also. So that way, you are able to track all the inventory in your organization. And then as far as the Easylib is concerned, now the newer version of Easylib will have a physical library management, a digital library management, in-out visitor management, ability to print the ID cards, barcodes, the a lot of other features are available in the Easylib system. So this is a set of applications. Similarly, the ERP function, admissions, student information, staff, exams, timetable, they're all combined over here. So here what you're doing, you rather than getting the standalone 20 applications, in the next level, you do more groundwork to choose the software which will help you set up applications. Okay, so physical library, digital library, learning management, all in one application. Accounting, finance, and that could be another one. So the entire campus admission related to another one. But now here one caution. If at all somebody says that their application will do everything, I think you want to take it with a pinch of salt. The reason is that the definition of everything itself is changing the moment my application, if I say that my application covers everything, that becomes a lie the moment I say it, because the definition of everything itself changes here. So the only option that we have got is integration of the integrated system that we'll cover in the next slide. But at this moment, the advantage is that some level of merger is there. So you have some, rather than 20 applications, you have 3 or 4 applications, maybe 5 applications or slightly more to do the different functions in that particular area. Obviously, it is better than manual processing. Some merger is available. And here at this stage, you start phasing out your manual books and so on. Now, the primary disadvantage as you move into the level 3, right, the expenses will start building up. So now if you look at this, here if you try to get each of these applications for 10,000, 15,000, you can get. But when you try to get an application which is doing many more things, it becomes a slightly expensive. Not just because it's offering more functionality, because it is built to scale up to level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and all that. But in the level 2 applications, many of these applications may not be scalable at all. So that one of the questions that many of our customers ask is that, why did you even have to change from Easylib 4.4 to Easylib 6.4? Easylib 4.4 was in this one, it was a standalone application. 6.4 is in the next phase where the integration with other systems is possible over here. So that's where the expenses start going up over here. So there is one, in the expense part, I do like to share the data worldwide. Some of the best companies in the world spend as much as a 10% of their annual revenue on the information technology. And most of the companies, the average is about 3%. If your organization's total financial outlay is, let's say, 1 crore rupees, so minimum 3 lakh you will spend on the information technology systems. Okay, so that rough things that you want to keep it in mind, because the systems will do a lot of things, but definitely they will not be less expensive. They will have their own pricing levels. Okay, so that's the integrated systems. Again, what you're doing here is that you're trying to get the applications which can do many things. Okay, so a set of applications. But at the same time, my request to all of you is that do not get carried away by somebody who says that my application is going to do everything, because it's extremely difficult for any application to do everything that is required over here. So only solution is integration among these applications. So now I have taken, suppose in your previous step, right, in the stage 3, you had these 4 applications. In this, what you do is you build the interfaces between them over here. System to talk to each other. Say, for example, this is an ERP system. This is the ERP system does entire the campus administration. Easylib does, let's say, the 6.4 version. Talks about, does the library function. Our 7.2 includes this ERP also. That's a different matter. But let's say you have one library system, one campus automation system. You build what is called an API. You implement. You ask these companies, okay, I want you to enable these APIs. API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's very simple concept. The moment you go to, let's say, you have you input your Aadhaar validation gets done, right? So Aadhaar validation you may be putting in one application, but actual Aadhaar data is with the UIDAI. How is it going? This application is calling what is called an API, Application Programming Interface, through the commands that are shared by the UIDAI to validate this data. So that anytime you go with any new application, make sure to ask a question, do you have APIs for integration with other applications? That's very, very important, because if the application doesn't have APIs, probably it becomes a standalone application, doesn't talk to any other application. So over the years, it becomes a big pain. So you ask them, okay, do you have this API function? And now, next comes IoT. IoT is the Internet of Things, right? The simplest example of IoT is your swipe in, swipe out, right? So there is a biometric integration. So the moment you scan your finger over there, the data comes to the system. So there is an IoT integration already. But for the real benefit, that biometric system also need to talk to the ERP system to send the data. So there's a combination of IoT and the API is going to come in over here. Okay. In the same level, when you integrate the applications, you will set different alerts here. So you may set up, let's say every day, the software wakes up at morning at 7 o'clock, automatically finds out who's all birthdays that day, sends a message to the student. Or in case of the library context, it may say your interest level, suppose your interest levels are, let's say, history, finds out which all books related to history have come, sends you a mail saying that, dear sir, so many books related to history have come, you please come and read the books in our library. So these are all the bad jobs that run in the night. So many organizations, they have not yet come to this level. So I am sure you will find the next 4, 5, 7 levels interesting over here. So simplest level, you want to make sure that the APIs are available, and it should be ready for integration with the Internet of the Things, including the, it could be either the biometric, RFID and other things. And the third thing is that it should have the bad jobs enabled over here. So these three things, when you do it, you will probably in the next level, that's the level 4 of governance, which offers you all this facility of having the single data. Because the moment an admission is done here, the library system doesn't have to, the librarian doesn't have to enter the data. The ERP system will call an API within the library system to get the student added over here. Similarly, the library system can call an API in the ERP system to state that, okay, this gentleman has got, let's say, 100 rupees fine or whatever. Okay, so that one step is integration. Second is you are able to expand the usage of the application, because as you go, this is one small one I have taken, but in one of the next slides we will go what all areas you will cover. The applications, there are about 20 or 25 items over there. So you will have different applications. The smooth transition between all the talking of the sharing of the message between these things happen if these are all applications equipped with the APIs. Okay, so this is where you can get the real benefit of information technology. It also comes with certain pitfalls over here. One is your expenses start building up over here. So there is a huge jump in the expenses the moment you want to move from different stages. Level 1 was very cheap, level 10 to slightly expensive, level 3 is more expensive, level 4 is more expensive, and so on. So you definitely want to keep your management up to date, that anytime there is a technology upgrade being done, they better reserve some of the funds for this technology upgrade. Many organizations already have somebody called as a CIO, Chief Information Officer, to coordinate entire information systems. So one of the things that you want to watch out in this step when you are going for the e-governance at this level 4 is the unprepared vendors, because it could happen that some of the applications could not be in the having all the APIs. So you want to make sure that you build a questionnaire and then cover these questions, and the chances of going with somebody who has not yet built the application will be less, and then you will be going with the more mature ones. So the key takeaway is you want to integrate the multiple systems. Okay. The next step of e-governance is the analytics part. In the analytics, what we do over here, so here in the first 4 of them, we focused on getting the data. Student admission form, student attendance details, the examination marks, the generation of the marks cards, and also that. These are all the basic things. But the real power of information technology comes when you use the analytics of things over here. So what are the analytics things that we are talking about? Say, for example, you get a graph of how the things are moving. Okay, you try to come up with a correlation between how many hours the students are studying in the library versus how many extra marks they are getting. Okay, how many hours a student has spent at the library in the last 4 years compared to in case of alumni, you can see what is his what all things he has done in the society. So can you come up with the correlation between them over here? Similarly, in case of the teaching, right, you will come up with the correlation between teaching, the quality of the teaching and impact on the students' performance. So you start measuring the things, whether the classes are starting right on time or not, how many students are attending on an average, whether the assignments are given in each class, how much time is taken between when the assignment is submitted by the student versus when the assignment is evaluated and the marks are entered. You start measuring all of these, and then you compare it with the results over here, different results. Then you come up with the analysis of what is the cause, what is the effect over here. So that one, you really want to go into deeper on what kind of analytics reports you want. Work with the system administrator, system development people. I'll go to that step also, and come up with the things that will help you make the key decisions. This step number 5 is definitely tough, but at the same time, it gives you an edge over other institutes over here, because when there are about um, uh, 5 colleges in the same area, as a student, I would think whether to go here, 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 or here, right? So if you have already done the groundwork and improve the quality based on the things that you are already doing, the chances of getting more admissions, offering better quality of education, making sure that your students are performing better in the exam, and the society as a whole definitely increases, and your own reputation increases. Yesterday we heard about that perception index, right? So this is one thing that greatly can impact the perception over here. Okay, and other thing is that these are unique to your organization. The practices that you follow may not be same as what somebody else follows. So as a result, you are able to make sure that you stand apart in the other institutions as a unique organization offering these are certain things over here. Okay, so this is the plus point. And on the flip side, obviously one is expense we are talking about. Then the second is a high level of discipline is what you require. The moment you start measuring the data, right, that the thing is valid, good, only if you take action based on the analytics what you found. And sometimes it may even create heartburn also. So there could be a certain somebody who is doing very well, but if the data shows that this particular professor, what he is teaching, the students are getting less marks, then probably there is some improvement need to be done. So this kind of analysis you will get when you analyze this. But at the same time, you should have the will to take the action to make set the things right. But definitely this is the starting point. But there is something called a 6 Sigma. If you are familiar, that's well and good. Otherwise, I would recommend you to go through what is 6 Sigma. It comes with define, measure, analyze, improve, control. So you first define what you want to measure. What you want to measure, you define it. Then start measuring it. Then you analyze the data. Then improve by taking the actions. Then you control it. So make sure that that change becomes the constant things, and then you are able to control, or rather you are able to make sure that the quality remains high over here. So that's the level 5 of the e-governance. Next level, so going further up. So here, this analytics only gave the insights, but predictions, that is the next step, which will go do further analysis on your data, come back and tell you, okay, in case of the library, it may tell you, okay, how many books you need to procure this year. Okay, and how many staff? Many times what happens is that in a library function, it could happen that there are 4 staff between morning 8 and evening 5. The software can analyze the data and then come and tell you, you don't need 4 staff during all the daytime, but instead of that, have 4 staff between morning 4 and 8, only 2 staffs in the afternoon when the classes are running, but 2 more staff should be between 5 and 8 for the other students to read. Right? So this kind of predictions and the recommendation comes in the higher level of e-governance over here. So these are only the anecdotes. Some things I have picked up over here. So what areas you should be procuring books? What areas you should teach? Which staff need to be given increment? That's an interesting thing, right? So you have 10 staff. You want to define who should get the best teacher award, or who should be given highest increment. You analyze all this data, different data. The software can analyze and come back with the recommendation also based on the teaching quality, the timely starting of the classes, the students' performance, the students' post passing out performance, and so on. Okay, so lot of insights the software can give and the predictions. So there is a huge stream over here that's called predictive analytics. So there is a almost, I think, if somebody wants to read about this predictive analytics, it's a one semester course by itself on how do you come up with the different predictions based on the data points, and then what are the tools, the techniques, and all that. And you want to make sure that you use those things in your software for the predictions. So what is the advantage when you go into level 6? All decisions become data driven, right? So you have a clear data over here. If you decide, okay, I am going to do these changes in the organization, it is substantiated with the data. Okay, it's not only the gut feeling over here. So the data plays a big role here. What is the other side? You don't want to tolerate the mediocre performance, because both of these things, right, analytics as well as the predictions give clear cut indication of who is doing great, who is not doing great. So you want to be able to take the decisions related to not tolerating the mediocre performance over here. Obviously, again, the spend is something that you would want to do over here. Okay. Next, level 7. Okay, so if you start from the level 1, right? Level 1, we had only the Excel. Level 2, we had got standalone applications. Level 3, we had applications which were doing many things. Level 4, we integrated the applications. Level 5, we built in a lot of analytics. Level 6, we had the predictions. Level 7 is autopilot. Okay, so autopilot, basically what it does is that the software defines what should be running today actually. So very few colleges are in the autopilot mode. One of the best example where the autopilot is implemented is aeroplane. When we fly in aeroplane, right? So the software is so advanced there, it considers all these different things, including the wind speed, the wind direction, the temperature outside, inside. It primarily controls the entire aeroplane. Majority functions are covered in autopilot mode. So the pilots would be sitting here and the aeroplane will be flying by itself. Only when there is a requirement, they would be able to manually take over the things. So in the educational institute also, when we implement the systems as they become mature, it has the scope to help you perform many of the functions in the autopilot mode over here, right? So it influences the operation. System generates the timetable and substitution. That's a simple thing, right? So system keeps a track of, okay, what all classes have to be conducted, how many classes have to be conducted per day, which are the holidays, which are the staff available on that day. All the data is available over here. The software can generate the timetable. So when the staff comes over here, he may see the change in the timetable, but because it's generated automatically over here. So it may even do the question paper generation, and it may do the question paper generation, different question paper generation for different students. Imagine this doing it manually, setting up some 100 students are there, you want to come up with 100 different question papers. Very difficult, right? Software can do that job. And then it can even conduct the mock test. If there are 100 students with the different levels, right, the software can automatically come up with the different questions at the different levels, and thereby have even the different weightage, so that it will measure what based on the students the parameters you have set, and come back with the marks over here. So the scoring of the examinations, what chapters should the student study. If I'm a student, I log in here, the software may tell me, Vasu, this is what is your last semester score is, this is what we have analyzed. You should spend the next let's say 10 days studying this one, allocate 10 hours here, allocate 5 hours here, allocate 6 hours here. That kind of analysis and the intelligence software can build over here. So it can tell when should the students focus on the sports, extracurricular activities, is spending more time, less time. You know, after all, what is the goal of an education institute, right? You want to influence building a very healthy, prosperous, driven by the characters, this kind of society, right? And the software can play a big role in ensuring that your goals are adhered to here by coming up with all these recommendations. Some of the examples, other examples are tells student what to focus on, the work schedule it builds for the extremely busy people over here, sends out the notifications and the reminder calls it does. It can even do the things like, you know, it can keep a tab on what is the air condition level in the hall, and just 4 or 5 minutes before the class starts, it can turn on the air condition, right? If it expects that it's going to rain, it may reduce the temperature or it may act differently. So multiple things it will consider and operate the system. Okay. So other examples are automatic ordering of the stationery, system issue the disciplinary letters. No matter, all these things are automatically done over here. The beautiful example of this autopilot was when I was in General Electric, we had this one application. The software will go find out how many items of this, let's say this watch are sold in last 1 month, previous month. Then it will come back with the prediction. This month we expect 150 watches to be sold. It will go and identify how many watches are already there over here. Then it will identify how much time the vendor will take to ship the watches to the General Electric Appliances office. Then it will go and find, okay, we need about 50 watches. It will go and find out 5 vendors who are supplying that, find out who is already offering the lowest price, and at the fastest time, it will go and place the order. Directly, he will get the purchase order. And now, today, if we are able to get this laptop for about less than 50,000 or 60,000, it is because of this supply chain automation. Extreme amount of e-governance, the e-business thing that they have implemented. A lot of these companies, you take HP, Dell, Apple, all these companies have got automated so much that is what is making us get these computers at a fraction or relatively less price. If this was not there, each of the watch, the computers would have costed almost 10 times more. So now coming back to the education, right? To improve the quality of the education, to improve that our students become more and more valuable to the society, it's highly recommended we go into the higher level of e-governance. Okay. So obviously the reduces the strain on the operations because you're not focusing on the routine ones, you will focus on the exceptions, brings in the highest efficiency. And on the flip side, sometimes you may feel like a rigid, the system has become rigid, but the benefits are much higher. Let me go into the next level. So level 8. Level 1 to 7 operated within your organization. Okay, even including the autopilot. Level 8, what happens is that it integrates the other systems over here. So, for example, if your college is, your college is offering the BA, BCom, BSc courses and some of the skill development courses. What the software can do, go and find out in the job market, external sites, how many job openings are there for the chartered accountants. And it can come and tell you, saying that, okay, chartered accountants are in high demand as per the data, and you should increase the chartered accountant, or the commerce course strength by another 20%. So what is doing here? It is not only referring to the applications in your organization, it is going and referring to the external data and coming back with the recommendations. So for that, the key thing here is that you will integrate with different applications. Similarly, let's take another example of this placement. Many colleges, right? You want to place your students. So colleges, what they do? You find out which are the companies are there in the market. You send them a letter. You send an email. Schedule a timing. They will come and take the test and so on. So now, what the software can do? Go and identify which companies are hiring based on the advertisements given. It can also find out which technologies are in demand, then try to map and then try to prioritize which company it should send the letters to, send them, and then pretty much automate this placement mechanism. So this external integration is what I see over here that's going to come. Many organizations are already reached up to this 7, but 8 I would say is a very few organizations have come up with, but that's I expect is going to be the next level of e-governance. So level 9 and 10 I have left. Don't know what else is going to come over here. Okay. So we covered so far the okay, what time is it? 7:44. Okay. So we covered the levels of the e-governance. So let's come back to the basics. In your organizations, you want to come with the e-governance. There are 4 things that you want to focus on. One is people, second is processes, third is technology, and fourth is resources. Leading change. This is a book by John Cotter, because he clearly explains what are the things that you should focus when you are implementing a change. When you are implementing the information technology systems, primarily they disrupt the current operations. Right. In the early stages of Easylib, when we go into the colleges, right, we go to the colleges, give the demonstration of our the college automation software, because before we came up with the library automation software, we had come up with the college automation software, right? So when we go and give the demo, people would say, no, Deshpande, why we don't require this kind of software over here? And including the clerk and the other office staff, right? They'll say, no, we don't want to use the computers at all. That kind of fear was there about 15 or 20 years back. So now, anytime you do the changes, right? When you want to go with the level 3 to level 4 or 4 to 5, you will always see people skeptical about the things. So one of the very important things you want to consider when you want to go with any of the e-governance initiatives is that you want to bring a coalition of the people. If there are key 10 people or the head of the 10 departments are there, make sure that you involve those 10 departments, right? So bring in the change, come up with programs on how to motivate the people, conduct the trainings, have the vendors come and do the presentation. You want to bring as many people in favor of doing the changes over here, because e-governance is never easy. You know, the coming up with one system to another system upgrade is definitely a challenging task. So you want to make sure that as many people are in favor of the changes rather than the people against it. So that's the first part, bring the people into the fold. Second is processes. So when you want to go with e-governance, all these steps, right, you have a clear, try to come up with an idea of what exactly you are doing. Many times what happens is that you may tend to go with one vendor comes over here, comes and makes a presentation. Sir, my software will do this. You may be tempted, okay, I'll go with this software alone. So it's good because vendors definitely are your partners. You know, the partners will educate you on a lot of stuff. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you do your own homework on what are the things that you want to automate. So one of the things, it could be meet multiple vendors, you know, multiple distributors, multiple software companies you met. Each of them will be coming up with different the process ideas, and thereby you can come up with your own areas, what all things you want to improve. So that is the process part. The third part is the technology part, because the technology is changing so fast that you really want to take a good look at which technology is being used, right? So have some 10-year or 20-year roadmap in the pipeline. Of course, it will change in future, but to the best of the knowledge, you want to make sure that you keep this technology things in the mind. Simple, for example, is the software having Aadhaar card or not, right? Is the software has the ability to come up with this APIs and IoT we are talking about, right? Does it do that? Those kind of questions you want to ask. So that is the technology part you want to really focus on. The last part is the resources part. Many times e-governance projects do not achieve the expected result because the resources are not made available. So definitely when you come up with the plan, I'll go to the next step also. There it tells about why the resources are so important over here. Otherwise, what happens is that you do the process, you complete the things, 80% is done, but the 20% completion requires X amount of money, which the management is not ready to give. So at that time, all your 80% work that you have done, right, is undermined. So to avoid that, you want to do a clear-cut planning on what are the resources. It could be in terms of the money, it could be in terms of the building, hall, the computer, the staff that you require. You want to do as much planning as possible. So this is a leading change by John Cotter. I would highly recommend you all to go through that. Okay, is the pace okay? If I am going too fast, please communicate, let me know. Otherwise, I will continue this pace. Okay. Now let's come to the core higher education part. What I have done is that I have broken down the things where it will make a lot of difference. Okay, so this is a broad function, but my suggestion for you, NAC has already done tremendous amount of work on where all the e-governance is required, right? They have clearly outlined step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5. You simply want to take each of them, make sure that you implement the e-governance in that area. Say one simple example is that NAC, it says that how many programs, how many student outreach programs you have conducted. So what all you want to do for the student outreach? Do you have the system to conduct the events? Schedule the events. If not, you need a system to schedule the events. Do you have the ability to enroll the students? If not, you want to have that system. Then can the system send the automatic reminders? Does the system have the ability to send the email? Does the system have the ability to collect the event fee? Does it have the ability to come up with a clear schedule of the what is being conducted? So just by going, your first step on integration or the e-governance, probably the NAC expectations, right? So you try to see what systems you require for each of them. Broadly, they can be classified into 5 parts. One is the academic functions that covers admission, student information, staff information, got the exams, assignment, a test, a quiz, you got the timetable, attendance, you got the faculty improvement. Anything related to the academic is one particular group where you want to implement these all different functions. So coming to the finance and administration, start with the fee collection. So again, fee collection doesn't just end with that cutting a receipt. Do you have the online payment facility? What happens if the student pay through the Google Pay? All that you want to make sure that you consider in your system. Then do you have a tally kind of application? What is the collection? What are the expenses? How much inventory you have got? Because many times this is one thing that I want to cover. Many times, right, including the NAC, we may not explicitly see what all is required here. NAC probably doesn't say to you to track how many fans you have got, how many computers you have got, how many chairs you have got, how many refrigerators you have got, right? But all of these you have in your college, right? It could be the sports equipment, the motor vehicles, all of that you want to track. You want to implement a service desk in place so that anytime there is a problem, the student or the staff will be able to quickly open a ticket. So fan in the room one is not working, the staff should be able to quickly open a ticket. So you want to implement service desk kind of system, which will take the ticket, send a message to the staff who has opened the ticket, and also send a message to the facilities manager. And that ticket gets closed only when it is addressed. So that's the finance and administration function. Then comes the next part is the student activities. So outreach activities, how often you are communicating with the students, events, emails, phone calls, or the automated phone calls. The technology today is tremendous. There's so many things it offers. You can even send 20,000 bulk mails today. Okay, you just have to take the help of these different technology like MailChimp, SendGrid, and other people. So those will help you send a bulk communication. Okay, so the what are the projects you are doing, what are the events you are conducting, internship, placement, alumni management. Obviously, when you have the good alumni, many of them could be the donors. So do you have the necessary thing in place wherein you keep in touch with the potential donors, send them the regular updates on what is happening in the college, have them become part of your extended community, right? Only when the affinity increases, the people can donate. So all of these activities you want to automate. Then the next is obviously the library is one major thing, right? So you got your physical library, including the books, journals, the bound volumes, and all that. You got your complete digital library, including the PDF, the notes, the question paper, thesis, what you have got, your own staff publications, what is available in different areas like InflibNet, Shodhganga, the DOAJ, DOEB, and so many places. Your system should be capable of handling all these. And the learning management. I am a student, I log in today. If I am a BA second year student, I click, it should show I am enrolled in these subjects. These are the 4 subjects. I click one more button. It should show, okay, this is the week 1, week 2, week 3 schedule. I click on week 1. It should say, okay, this is the PDF. This is the second PDF I should read. This is the exam I need to take. This is the test I need to clear. And this is the other 3 videos that I need to see. That kind of organization is what is required in the information systems over here. Okay. Then the last one is the other areas. So this is where the definition of everything comes into picture. So there is nothing like everything here, because the moment you think that it's everything, it's something else gets added over here. So you just want to go in a gradual way, because going from level 1 to level 8 is time consuming, resource intensive, as well as it's a lot of change over here. In the last 20 years that I am working with a lot of colleges here, about 20 years back, many of them were in level 0. 20 to 10 years, then many of them came to level 1. Now many colleges are in level 2. Now I see that the level 3 is becoming more and more popular, and I am sure in the next few years people will go to level 4, 5, and so on. So this journey is a very interesting journey. And by the way, one of the reasons why I am working with you all is that it's area where I can apply different things that we have learned in different companies in the core area is far more challenging and satisfying to help an organization move from level 1, 2, 3, 4 gradually, rather than working with only one organization which is already at level 5, and we help them to move to level 6. Compared to that, level 1 to 7 is much more challenging, interesting. That makes us spend time with you all over here. Okay. Now coming back over here, this is the level 7. We covered the level 8, external integration. This is a dream kind of thing, especially for the education institute. This may make a lot of sense because it defines what you should be teaching. Okay. And okay, then we covered these pillars. We covered the areas of e-governance in higher education, different areas. Then the next step is how do you go about this implementation? Okay, where you start. You have a dream. Okay, in the next few years, we want to go with the highest number of functions. You know, that's a very vague statement. You want to break up, come up with strategic plan. So we would like to achieve X, Y, Z in the next 3 years. Next 5 years, we want to do this. Next 10 years, you want to do this. Come up with a clear strategic plan on what all you want to implement with respect to the e-governance, right? So if you do not have any computerization, then you decide, okay, I'm going to do admissions this year. I'm going to have the library automation done this year. Next year, I'm going to go with certain additional system. Third year, I'm going to do this. So have that plan in place. Make sure that you document it. So first step is strategic plan. Then you come up with the different systems that you require. Then do the groundwork to see what is already there in the technology front. So you draw a technology plan. Okay, this one you work with the different people, come up with a broad schedule, right? So it's highly probable, not probable to jump from level 0 to level 8 in just about 2 years. It's a little longer journey. So you want to break it up saying that, okay, we are in level 1 right now, level 2 will be in 1 year, level 2 to 3 next year, then so on. So you define a broad schedule over here. So that way that becomes your master plan. The next step you want to do is, before you commit to that broad schedule, you want to go and do a estimation. Okay, get at least the broad estimation. Okay, how much would it cost to implement a biometric attendance system? How much would it cost to implement the learning management system? Get the estimation. You don't have to give the order, but you want to get the estimation because funding plays a key role here. So with this, then you go to the management to see how much fund you require for this year. If you require X amount, please do ask for 1.5x, right? So 1.5x or 2x, because in the last 25 years of time, I have rarely seen any software project complete on time. The reason is very simple. I'll go into the risk why the project gets extended, but the most of the time, the requirements come after you start the project. Then automatically the timeline gets extended, spend also increases. So you want to make sure that you do the good estimation, then ask for at least 1.5 times of the money, so that the management is not surprised when you ask for money later. Okay, so this is all the first step. Then once you have the funding allocated for your project, you allocate the resources. Now one good advantage thing is that you have got a lot of outsourcing done now, right? So you give an order to one company, they can take care of everything. Or you can hire certain companies to give you only the resources for 1 or 2 months. So you don't have to take somebody for a long term. You just take only when you require. So you make the resource planning, finalize the vendors. Okay, so this is a big exercise. Definitely you finalize the vendors who will help you in this entire e-governance journey. Then you deploy the software. The next thing comes with parallel run. This is one of the most important things over here, because the last thing that you want to happen in the system is that there is a system that is in the level 2, standalone system, working beautifully. It is not so great, but it is doing its job. The moment you deploy a new system, the old system you have discontinued, the new system is not working properly. So you are in a big mess over here, right? So definitely you don't want to get into that situation. So vendors or the partners may give dreamy ideas saying that, okay, our system is fantastic, everything it will do, all that thing is there. But please do your own homework. Okay, if it is a proven area, then you can trust. Definitely, vendor has already done this implementation at 100, 200 places. Then one more deployment is not going to be an issue. So obviously, definitely you can shut down the level 2 system, the standalone system, directly move into the level 3. But if it is an experiment, you want to do a parallel run. If it is a, let's say, fees example, fees. If you are collecting the fees in the old system, collect in the new system also. at least for 1 week, 2 week, or whatever time of duration that you want, you do the parallel run. It is expensive, it's cumbersome, but it is worth it. Because when you do that and you take the report, the level, the one application and the second application should give you the same exact data reports. How much fees collected here, how much fees collected here, how much is the spend, how much is the spend. Only when they are matching, you would be confident on the new application. So that is why, based on the risk level of that application, you decide the parallel run duration. If the application is solid, then definitely you can ignore the parallel run. But if you have any slightest of doubt, please do go with the parallel run of the application. Okay, and until the system becomes stable, never stop the manual activity. Suddenly stop taking the attendance record just because you implemented the system. Please don't do that. You continue to take the attendance manually for 1 more month, 2 more months, until the whole thing works fine. So that is when this go live step over here. So go live, basically there are different types of go live. Okay, so that itself will take another different whole session. But primarily, go live is the turnkey. That means the moment you turnkey, the old application stops, the new one works. That is one kind of go live. Other one is this parallel run. You do both the things parallelly, and once you are satisfied that the new system is working fine, you simply stop using the old one and then you continue with the new one. This is kind of another second go live. Okay, there could be different the gradual go live also will be there. So if the new application has got 10 modules, 1 month you go with the 1 or 2 modules, make sure that your team is familiar. Then you next month you go live with the second one, next month the third application, and so on. So over a period of 1 year, you want to smoothly, gradually go from one application to another application. Okay, that smooth thing is what is very important in the implementation. Okay, then the next is, once you have completed this, go to the next level. The next step, again, you go back to your technology plan, do a fresh estimation because the cost might have changed in the last 1 or 2 years during this first phase. Get the fresh estimation, make sure that the funding is available, then again you start it. So that is when you can gradually move from level 1 to 3 to 4 and so on. Okay, so you continuously you do this exercise. That's when you can be satisfied with the e-governance progress. A few things that you want to consider: impact analysis. So when you go decide that you want to implement a new application, how much is the impact it's going to be on the previous application, right? So suddenly you don't want to go and change all the records in the previous one, right? So it could be an issue. So similarly, next step is identify the risks. I'll go to the risk part also. You want to make sure that you identify the risk, do upfront a mitigation plan, take enough precautions. Then you'll be much more happy that you have done this exercise, because if at all that risk happens, you are not worried too much because you have already know what to do. Okay, so that's why the risk planning is important. Training plan, extremely important, because what happens now, see, right now I'm teaching everything in English, right? But do you expect that the person who is collecting the fees is conversant with English, right? For him, he will find everything so different, right? He wants it in Kannada or he wants it in a different language. So you want to make sure that complete training planning is part of your exercise of this go live thing. Okay, then communication plan. You never want to suddenly implement a system and tell everybody we are go live with the new system. No, no, no. You want to build the momentum, because you know when the things are there, you conduct the events, conduct some parallel runs, tell this is what is happening on, let the people get excited. Then you start, then you implement the application. Okay, and that's when the people will be much more supportive to you. So you want to make sure that the communication plan is intact. The last thing, you want to make sure that the status reporting is regularly done to different stakeholders, because especially to the people who are giving the funds, the stakeholders, because everything you might have done beautifully, but if the director of the institution, the financial director, is not getting the status report, he will ask so many questions before releasing the next amount of money. So all the work that you have done gets delayed because the next round of funding is not available. So you want to do as much homework as possible. Next, coming to this, there is something called a PMP. This is probably the toughest exam that I attended in the last, so many years. It was tougher than even MBA and engineering also. This is the simple 4-hour exam, very tough, but very satisfying, because that clearly tells you how to manage a project actually. Okay, how to ensure that the project planning is done, communication is done, the risks are lower, you are able to deliver the things on time. So I would suggest, if not all of you, those who are really interested in taking up the challenge of this implementation of the systems, right? Please do consider attending this, clearing this PMP exam. Okay. All right. I think we are almost at the end now. Next step, next one, key risks in the implementation. So when you are implementing your systems, right, e-governance, I see there are about 7 or 8. The top 7 risks is what I have outlined here. The first risk is that unclear scope, right? So it's as simple as I write 6. Let's say when the person who is in the front of me, when he reads, he will read it as 9. I wrote 6, he read it as 9, right? It could be as simple as that. So that's why you want to document everything over here. What exactly you want, you please document. Otherwise, you may end up in a situation, many times this has happened, where the college says that, okay, I have communicated this requirement. The vendor says, sir, you did not tell me this. Then the college says, no, 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 you should have understood this. The vendor says, how can I understand this? All this will start. So please make sure that you document everything. The scope, what exactly you want in your implementation in your system, document, document, document. That's the first risk, and how to address that thing. The next is lack of sponsorship over here. So you may have a lot of dreams on how do you want to improve, but at the same time you want to get somebody in the management fund your projects. So you need to really find a champion in the management committee who is ready to fund all your things. Of course, if you are already having that authority, that's wonderful over here, but please do find make sure that you have the funding availability. Okay. There is, by the way, there is a lot of funds are available by the companies. So that's a different one. Companies today spend about 15,000 crore rupees or even higher on the corporate social responsibility projects. So every company which is having more than 500 crore rupees in revenue is supposed to give 2%, and that money is available with a lot of companies. So you do want to do some work on getting the funds from those companies. That can be a separate session on raising the funds. But here for the e-governance, make sure that you find a sponsor. The third risk that I see over here, tendency to copy what someone else has done. You are one college, you go to another college, visit that, okay? And then my only request is that please visit some 4 or 5 colleges, not just 1 or 2 colleges, maybe visit 10 of them, okay? And come back and do what is important for your organization, right? Not just because somebody else has done it, it doesn't mean that you have to do it over here. So that is one very important thing that to do. The fourth one is entitlement actually. Just because somebody is very senior, experienced, doesn't mean that he is the right person to give the input on the e-governance. So you want to focus more on the experts rather than the people who are in the hierarchy. Okay. So that's a little sensitive area on how do you handle it. But you do want to make sure that you get the experts to advise you. Then with that, go with the person who is authorized rather than directly going to the authorized person and ask, okay, how should I do that? Okay, because he may say, okay, do this, 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 based on his own experience. But if you have not taken the expert's opinion, right, it may become an issue and end up in doing a wrong thing in the right way. So do please take the expert's opinion in different areas. Then the next one is the lack of resources. Again, it goes into the funding part. Make sure that the money is available. Even if it is not given, management should know that this project is being done for the next, after 6 months, they are going to ask about 10 lakh, 20 lakh or whatever amount, certain amount. It need not be 10, 20 lakh. It could be in 1 or 2 lakhs also, but make sure that the management is already aware, right? So that you want to formally document it. Okay, and it should go into the management plan and the spend planning and so on. Okay. Number 6 is a tendency of white change. So this happens in many places where the college wants to do the changes, the senior management wants to do, but the people on the ground, right, may not want the change at all. So that definitely you want to make sure that you build the communication. Go back to that book on the communication, the Philip Kotter's book on the leading change, and then bring the environment of change in the mind. Then the last one is try to do all work with the in-house staff. So many times if you try to develop the application on own, you want to make sure that it's scalable, right? So that is one thing that is you want to keep it in mind, because otherwise many colleges think that, okay, we have a computer science department, we are going to develop a beautiful application. All of us have been students at the college, but the professional is quite different from the academics part. So make sure to balance that thing over here. So that is just like, just because I'm an automobile professor, right? I don't build a car myself. So I still go to Maruti or any other company and buy a car. So but I may give the requirement what Maruti should do. So like that, you want to use your skill sets in the while in the e-governance. Okay, so this is the risks part. All right, next step. So this is one risk thing that I came across. What happens if the requirements are not clear? So somebody wanted this thing. Okay, I'm a decision maker. I need this kind of system. The way I communicated was this much. The person who understood was this much. I told the software engineer, he built something like this. Okay, or he told the software engineer to do like this. The software engineer built like this. But the person who is the vendor's salesperson sold it like this, saying that it's so comfortable and all that. Ultimately, what was delivered was like this. Okay, documentation, zero documentation on how to do this, but different things over here. Ultimately, what the customer wanted was this. So, if you do not handle these risks properly like this, right? Many organizations have ended up in this situation. Of course, the one good thing is that software is already always changeable. So, okay, what happens? You have tried to deploy, but it has been a failure. Again, you start the exercise, right? But definitely you want to increase the chances of your success. Make sure that you take care of these risks. One moment. Sorry. So this is the final takeaway. These are my requests for recommendations for e-governance for everybody. One is decide to go for the e-governance. Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. By the way, my branch has been the electronics branch. Why I did not take computer science and then took electronics was that somebody told me that computer science means people will lose the job. That kind of misconception over there. Absolutely no. Computerization is the way to go. E-governance is the way to go. Please decide to move forward. That's the first step. Second, obviously, that act on the decisions, right? So the action is what is makes the things happen on the ground. Act, get enough funds, start a project when you are having enough funds over here. Otherwise, you may end up in a situation where you have done the grand planning, you have told the vendors to supply XYZ items, but the management is not ready to give the money. Then it becomes an embarrassing situation. But try to do the tough part early in the game itself, so that you don't face these issues at the later point of time. Next is document everything. Document everything, please. It's so important, because that makes sure that three things, if you've already done, that's well and good. Otherwise, I have seen that the documentation increases the clarity of what you want, right? You may explain everything, but the moment you start documenting, you will come up with something else. So that's why you want to document for the purpose of the clarity. Second is document for the purpose of making sure that you and the person who is actually developing the program are in the same page. And the third one is documentation remains. It doesn't just go away, right? That remains for your record. Okay. Then the next one is ask for incremental improvements. So don't expect the software will be like this on the day one. Rarely any software will be there, but make sure that when you evaluate, you get the roadmap of what they are developing, see what they have got it. Then if they have developed this much, go and implement, but work on the timeline for when the things will increase. Okay, when the rest of the things will come. Next point is be agile. So rigidity will not help. So you want to work with the vendors as a partner. So it's not like previously what happens in the level 2 of the system, the software vendor has developed the program in the office, comes, visits your office, deploys the software, gives 1 or 2 days of training, the done deal. Okay, that was the change. That was the software model about 10 or 20 years back when the client server was there. But in the current time, the requirements are already constantly changing. So you want to have a relationship with the vendor where you are a partner with the vendor. Vendor should feel really happy to work on your changes. Similarly, you should be having the system in place, and then you should change, request what you want. So work with them as your partner. Just like you have 100 staff in your college, the vendor has 10 staff. Those 10 should be just the simple extension of your own college. Okay, like that relationship and then agility will really help. The next is the change management, how to implement these changes. The next 3 times I wrote, that's the testing of the software, whatever is developed. How much our groundwork we do, when the reality hits, it really affects. Just now we saw this, right? I have been using this laptop for so long, but last night the operating system got updated. Just before I started this, it said that I missed down security, right? So then I had to set up the security and then log in back again. So that is the purpose when this testing would really help. Okay, we need to learn to. Okay. Then next is deploy the software. Don't delay the deployment. Once the software is ready, don't wait until it becomes perfect. That perfection will never happen. Deploy what is ready, start using it, ask the vendor to fix the issues. Okay, that is the best way to move forward in the e-governance. Then once you do this thing, move to the next level. There is nothing like a standstill. There is never a standstill. You will never have a perfect system. You will never have a system that is doing everything. It's only the constant journey of improvement what you are going to see over here. Okay, there is a book by Keen. Actually, this picture is from their software development. Beautiful one. You may want to read that. Okay, all right. So that's about it. This is my contact details. So feel free to approach me anytime. Vasudeva@easylib.com, and then my phone number is there. So there is a quote from Bill Gates somewhere. I saw these are the references. Bill Gates' quote was, "The advance of technology is based on making it so fit that you don't really even notice it. It becomes a part of everyday life." That is the way you want to implement the system. So when you are implementing the system, people shouldn't feel, oh, something big is happening, something. So risk, high tension and all that. No. You should smoothly move from level 0 to level 1 to level 2, 3, 4. Gradually you move in. By the end of 2 or 3 years, your system will have moved from here to here without any disruption. That is the beautiful e-governance implementation I can call. That's about it. Thank you very much. And really thank you, Vijay sir, and Principal sir, Madam, Ashalata Madam, other people who took the initiative.